Okay, I hereby call the August 22nd, 2024 meeting of the Conservation Commission to order. We'll have our roll call of who's here. I'll call out your name. Michael Lesser, present. Jacob?
Jacob Strauss, present.
Kurt?
Kurt Stiegel, present.
Courtney?
Ordiak, present.
Matt?
Matt O'Lear, present.
Okay, so now we got five of us. Steve messaged me that he's back in town and trying to, after being away for a while, but then he was probably going to try to join. Okay, the agenda. Is there anything on the agenda that we need to add to under the 24-hour rule?
There is.
No, we amended the agenda.
Oh,
The agenda was amended today. Although I don't see it here. To add the codification thing.
but we added it with less than 48 hours, so don't we still have to vote on it?
I guess we could still vote on it because somehow the town clerk said we could just add it to the agenda, which was done earlier today, which I didn't quite understand the rationale, but why don't we do that to more formally, since we're gonna have to vote on that.
What was the change?
It's they want to change the numbering of the of our conservation land regulations in this whole new reordering of everything of all our bylaws. So
It was the codification that we had voted on before, but I guess they didn't like the format of some things, so they reformatted it.
yeah, a little bit. Welcome back, Steve.
Well, yeah, well, thank you. Sorry for the protracted absence anyways.
I hope Megan's doing all right.
She's getting better, but it's slow, but she's getting better.
Good. You could say your name and that you're present for the record.
Okay. Steve Scrimshaw, present.
Okay. Okay, so we're not making, okay, so I move that we even though it's been posted today as an amended, that I move we add to the agenda. Oh, maybe I need to refresh my that we amend the agenda to include renumbering of the new regulations, codification for conservation land regulations as requested by the town clerk be added under discussions.
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Roll call vote. Michael, aye. Jacob?
Aye.
Steve? Okay, I think we need a verbal thing when you get to it. Kurt?
Aye.
Courtney?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
And Steve, you
Aye.
can't? Okay, thank you. I can't tell if it's legal for have hand signals for a roll call vote or not. That's a question for town council, I guess, or the town clerk. Okay, it is 7:20. Therefore, we got a number of things today. Notice is hereby given that the Conservation Commission of the town of Sherborn will hold a virtual public hearing using Zoom technology at 7:20 on the 22nd day of August 2024. The request for determination of applicability or RDA hearing will be held pursuant to Chapter 131, Section 40 of the General Laws as amended, the Wetlands Protection Act, and the Sherborn Wetlands Bylaw, and its regulations, to consider a proposal by the applicant's representative, McIntyre Engineering and Septic Systems, Inc., for the septic system replacement work within a wetland buffer zone at 14 Woodland Street, map 12, lot 63. This application is available for viewing at the Sherborn Conservation Office. All persons desiring to be heard will be given an opportunity to speak at this hearing. Okay, and I believe you've given all the green cards. Joyce will join us a little later. But Dan, I believe you've given all the green cards for this. Oh, no, there's no green cards. It's an RDA.
No green cards for an RDA.
Okay, sorry, getting ahead of myself. Okay. I will let you present if you'd like.
Let me see if I can bring the plan up here. Can everyone see that plan?
Yes.
All right. So for the record, Dan McIntyre representing the homeowners of 14 Woodland. They are in the process of getting their house ready for sale, and they did not pass a Title V inspection. So we were retained to design a new septic system. You may recall we were before you a couple of meetings ago on this particular lot to get approval for soil testing. Since that time, we've had the wetlands formally delineated and the buffer zones shown on the plan. So to orientate you, Woodland Road is down in the lower left-hand corner.
Right out of college, he said, but I got all this new technology. I know all the new
That
greatest. I said,
somebody,
I said, I love you. I
Oh,
said,
Robert?
who's that? Okay,
All right. So Woodland in the lower left-hand corner. The driveway comes into the home situated kind of in the center of the lot. The wetlands were delineated by Goddard Consulting. There is a wetland across the street that we delineated with that buffer coming on to a portion of the front property. And then a larger wetland in the back with the wetland coming up through the middle of the lot here. The existing septic system is located in the front yard. It consists of 2 leaching pits here and here. They're both deep pits and they're within the groundwater table. We're proposing to put the new septic system also in the front yard. It'll be a shallower trench configuration using alternative technology, the Elgins, to improve the treatment capability of the system. It'll be a septic tank and a pump tank pumping up to a distribution box here. The plumbing was downset below the slab. It's a raised ranch, presumably constructed here because it does have a high groundwater table on this lot. So we need to pump it up, and we are mounding the front yard slightly, not too much though. All of the components of the septic system are outside the 100-foot buffer, but we will be doing some grading to transition that mound down right in here. And we fully expect that the contractor is going to need some area right here for stockpiling of the excavated material before he backfills the system. So construction access will be coming in off the driveway here. We have erosion controls in through here, tied in between a small stone retaining wall and coming across the area here to prevent any sediment from traveling toward the wetlands. So we think this is a big improvement over the existing conditions. As I say, we're keeping the septic system out of the 100-foot buffer. Everything is previously disturbed. It's all lawn here now. There is one small white pine tree here that's being taken down, which is just kind of straddling the 100-foot buffer, maybe slightly outside of it. We're also proposing to install 3 wetland bounds with signs on it. The backyard is lawn here, and then it kind of abruptly stops with a wooded edge here and then drops down into the wetland. We also noticed when we were out there that the lawn service has been dumping grass clippings over here for a number of years, and they've really matted down all the buffer zone vegetation in this particular area here. So while we got this work done and while we have an application in front of you, the homeowners agreed to get those grass clippings out of there and just let that restore naturally. And then the wetland bounds will alert the future homeowner that there is a wetland right in that area. So with that, I think I can turn it over for questions to the commission.
Sure, looks pretty straightforward. Does anybody from the commission have any questions? Or additional kind of conditions or mitigation?
Did we get any proposed conditions from Joyce?
No, other than the,
Standard ones,
what's that?
just the standard ones.
About no equipment
Post-
overnight.
Yeah. Post, here she is, and a post, construction inspection. I mean, Dan already knew what we were gonna ask for, putting up some bounds and pulling the clippings out, so that's fantastic. I mean, he's sandwiched between two wetlands. It's not a lot of space to work in.
Mhm. Yeah, and I assume the area with the stockpiling and the grading will be just restored.
It'll all be restored as lawn in that area, yes.
Okay. Yeah. Anybody else have any other questions, comments?
No, getting a failed system out of the groundwater is always an improvement.
That's for sure. And we got the markers there for the future stuff, so, okay, then. Other than some of the conditions we named, this looks fine, so that I move to permit this project to go forward as a -3 with the conditions discussed and as on the plan.
Second,
Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, roll call vote, Michael, I, Jacob,
Aye.
Kurt,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Courtney.
aye.
I think Michael, I can't remember if I did that. Okay. Go,
Well, great, thank you very much.
sure, okay, go improve it all. Okay, now on the agenda. At 7:30 in 2 minutes. I'm gonna get to 201 Lake Street. There, in the meanwhile, there is a
A warrant?
I'm looking. There is a warrant that we've approved for basically all either mail or notifications in the newspaper for a total of $133. Anybody have any questions about that?
Nope.
Okay. Let's see. And one of the little odds and ends we got here. Don't see any administrative approvals. We got the minutes to do. On the agent position, we've had a little feelers, nothing great, but we've also re-advertised and making some changes to the advertisements. Just to cover, because there's some potential of doing something jointly with Millis. So that allows us maybe to advertise for a few more hours and have a little different configuration. So we'll see how that plays out. That will be underway while we're still advertising. And the other thing is, remember that our next meeting, it's on the agenda, is on September 5th. And basically 2 weeks from now. So we're back on the regular schedule of the first and third Thursdays after the little change over the summer here. Okay, 7:30. Oh, Joyce, did you want to say something before I open the hearing?
So we just had a meeting with land development, and they would like us not to have our meetings the same night as the selectmen. So we can't do that soon because we've advertised things already and continued things, but we seem to be on the same pattern right now.
Okay, I'll talk to the select board chair.
Okay.
Because we've gone over this in the past about that it's not very practical. So, but we'll have a discussion then. Okay. It's 7:31 actually now. Notice hereby given that the Conservation Commission of the town of Sherborn will hold a virtual public hearing using Zoom technology at 7:30 on August 22nd, 2024. Request for determination of applicability or RDA hearing will be held pursuant to Chapter 131, Section 40 of the General Laws as amended, the Wetlands Protection Act, and the Sherborn Wetlands Bylaw and its regulations, to consider a proposal by the applicant, Town of Sherborn via Jeannie Guthrie, for berm maintenance within a wetland buffer zone at 201 Lake Street Farm Pond, map 16, ID 12-0-192. This application is available for viewing at the Sherborn Conservation Office. All persons desiring to be heard will be given an opportunity to speak at this hearing. Okay, this is a continuation of what we had been talking about before.
No.
With the Farm Pond Advisory and as well as the town Farm Pond.
That was a long time ago.
Yes, essentially, since we have a long schedule tonight, I will take the, does everybody know what the berm is? That essentially it is the ability to, they're asking by hand to move some of the rocks that have rolled away from the edge of the berm into a few feet or so into the pond and to roll them back by hand to back up against the berm. And that was something we had discussed in the past as being a good acceptable activity under an RDA and not adversely affecting the wetlands and in fact just maintaining current conditions. I know that there are some people here. I see Melinda and Tom. I don't know if you need to say much or you want to add to that because I don't know if anybody has any questions or issues about it since the discussion of last time.
Well, just because you asked, Michael, I'll just throw in there and say, we're ready to roll.
Okay, that's, I guess, literally a good pun.
Right.
Well,
And Michael, Tom here, I don't have anything else to add, although I did send you and Courtney and Joyce photos of the area, so if anybody else on the board is interested, they can get those from you.
right. Does anybody on the commission have any questions about this rock rolling? Okay. Hearing none, I move that we approve this RDA, this activity as a negative, I guess, 3, because the conditions are that it's being done by hand. And if there's any further more activity than that, they'll have to come back to us. And I think that's basically the only condition. That's it. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Michael, I. Jacob,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Courtney,
Aye.
Kurt.
Aye.
Did I do you, Jacob?
Yes, you got me already.
Okay. Okay, go roll.
Hey,
Thanks,
Tom, Michael.
thanks,
Michael,
everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Chris.
Before you go, Tom, do you guys need any labor?
Yes, and thank you for asking.
So I can tell you that the high school kids have a responsibility to do X amount of hours of volunteer work. And I happen to know many of them. So if you're looking for labor, reach out to me separately and I could probably help you out with a bunch of good, strong backs.
Yeah, you're too late. We should have put that in the conditions.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, let's see. How much of that back strength is in under your roof?
A lot of it.
Um,
And it's not mine, trust me.
I know, that's what I'm sitting there going like, is he volunteering? Okay. Thanks, Matt. Let's see now. What do we have to here? So we have 4 minutes. before we get to 266 Washington Street. Um,
Can we
okay,
do a quick vote on the numbering of the,
right. By the way, we added it to the agenda when you weren't here because the agenda in the file and
I
online.
just added it to the file now.
Yeah, okay, I was sitting there going like all that talk and we forgot to put it there.
Well, it has been posted also.
Yes, yeah, but I'm glad it's in our file here for the record. Okay, basically, there's a new, all the words are the same for all the bylaws. It's just a new numbering system that's trying to bring it into, I think, some sort of uniformity with, across all the different towns. And we were, and then problem was it was numbered by, without going it by committee per se. So our land regulations, which you should review at some point, conservation land regulations and our wetland regulations were not together under us. So they want to move the land regulation numbering from a 310 number to a 405, and we're in the 400s as the Conservation Commission. So they need us to approve that change. And so thereby does anybody have any questions about it before I make a motion? It's a simple numbering thing.
Just to clarify, we're talking about the regulations, not the bylaw. I think you
Right.
missed. Okay.
Yeah. And there's conservation land regulations that are fairly small that we should probably look at some point. Okay, hearing no more discuss. I move that we approve renumbering conservation land regulations from 315, I believe it is, to 405 under the new codification of the bylaw of the regulations in town.
You believe? Are you reading it?
No, I just made it up.
You read it correctly.
Okay, just double checking because I don't want to get in trouble with Jackie.
I know, I'm sitting there going, hopefully.
I'll second that then.
Okay, good. Any further discussion? Roll call vote. Michael, I, Jacob,
Aye.
Kurt,
Aye.
Matt,
I,
Courtney,
Aye.
Steve.
Aye.
Okay, you got that thing off, done. Let's see, announcements, we did that, the next conservation meeting. Weren't done, so we have them, and are there any administrative approvals?
Not for tonight, no.
Okay. Any site issues that take 60 seconds?
None.
Okay. Okay, we're waiting, let's see, for this new public hearing. Let me get the thing I gotta read here. Hi, Rob. Okay. Let's see. $7:40. Okay, notice hereby given that the Conservation Commission of the Town of Sherborn will hold a virtual public hearing using Zoom technology at 7:40 on August 22nd, 2024. The notice of intent, or NOI hearing, will be held pursuant to the Sherborn Wetlands Bylaw and regulations to consider a proposal by the applicant's representative, Holliston Survey LLC, for installation of an in-ground pool and pool house within a wetland buffer zone of an isolated wetland at 266 Washington Street, map 3, lot 82B. This application is available for viewing at the Sherborn Conservation Office. All persons desiring to be heard will be given the opportunity to speak at this hearing. Okay. Take it away, Steve, or Rob. You want to?
Rob. Thank you. For the record, Rob Truax, representing the applicant, Megan and James Fanning from 266 Washington Street. Would you like me to share my screen, Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
So this is an existing home at 266 Washington. It fronts on Washington Street. There's a isolated wetland to the rear. If you look at the lot area, you can see that the existing yard area in the rear of the house is all fenced in with a wood rail type fence. It goes around the entire backyard. That actually has some screening on it too, I believe, to keep the dogs in. And that whole area inside that fenced area is lawn, mature lawn, and then beyond that, as you go towards the wetland area, that's all wooded and vegetated area, thickly vegetated along the back of the fence, and it kind of opens up as you get down towards the wetland area. So the proposal is to construct an in-ground swimming pool with a pool house, filter house, little shed on the end with a bathroom in it. We're going to connect that to the septic system. The pool, as you can see, is located right in the lawn area inside the fenced area. So we're not disturbing any woodlands. There's no tree cutting. The access would be off the existing driveway, which comes right up to the backyard along the fence. They'll open up the fence to get in there. And they can come right in, construct the pool, put a patio in, et cetera, et cetera. So there's very little, disturbance to the area. It's all lawn. There's no tree cutting, as I said. There'll be no work beyond the existing wood fence. You can see that the 100-foot buffer comes inside the wood rail fence. It just clips the edge of the patio. That's a 100-foot buffer from the BVW. We do recognize that the area is a vernal pool in that wetland area. There was actually water out there when we walked it last week. I know you folks had a chance to walk it. I apologize I couldn't be on the sidewalk with you. I did walk it separately with Courtney. I just had an appointment Monday morning that day. You were walking it at 8 a.m. Couldn't be there. So it's really, it's pretty straightforward. There's not a lot of activity in the, it's all in the yard area. There's nothing beyond the fence. Nothing will happen in that area. The vegetation will stay. We'll put the erosion control around the work area. And if you look at this site, right where the pool sits, the elevation of that area is elevation 96. And then the entire site slopes towards Washington Street. That's the high point between the wetland and Washington Street. So any surface runoff from this site or the pool patio goes into the lawn, and then if there's an extraordinary amount of rain and it does happen to not filter through the grass area, it would come out towards the front yard of the house. It wouldn't sheet flow towards the wetland area. The soils in this area are sands and gravels. The soil testing from this septic system revealed that there was no water table in the area, even though you have that wetland back there. When we dug test holes out there, we were down 12, 13 feet with no water table. We did not encounter groundwater. It was all, clean sands, clean gravels, high permeability rate. I think this area back here, this wetland, it's a low-lying area that's trapping water within it. And I think if we were to study the groundwater, we'd find that water flow maybe even have a tendency to flow from that wetland towards the wetland on the other side of Washington Street, down on the other side of the street as you go further down. So that's pretty much an overview. I really don't have much to say other than that, and I can try and answer any questions the commission might have.
Okay, thank you. You can leave it up. Do commission members want to ask any questions?
I had a couple of questions based on the site visit. One was that it looked like there was if you go through the wooded area that's sort of at the top of the berm between behind the fence between there and the vernal pool, there's a lot of invasives in that area, and I was wondering if the homeowner would be willing to remove some of the invasives there as part of the project.
We could certainly ask them. I didn't notice what were the invasives. What was the plant species? Was
the biggest one was bittersweet. That was choking a lot of the trees in that area, and there's a lot more on the ground, but it's the ones that are climbing the trees seems to be the bigger concern.
No, we could definitely speak to him about cutting those vines down. I think that was the same thing we had on the neighboring lot, if I remember.
Mm-hmm.
If you recall, we just did an order of conditions to the right of this site as you go up towards Knoll Crest Drive. it's not the same wetland area, but it's over there, a couple few hundred feet away. And they had the same invasives on those trees over there.
Yeah, there is not a lot of impervious area that you're adding within our jurisdiction. I mean, what is it, like 230-ish square feet? And given that the site is like pretty well vegetated right up to the fence, we thought that an appropriate level of mitigation was just kind of making sure those bittersweet don't destroy the trees that are right there. And I'm sure the homeowner is interested in that not happening either.
No,
But-
I'm sure they wouldn't. I
Yeah.
think that would be something we could discuss with them, and they'd probably be, I don't know if they're on the meeting tonight. I didn't see them.
Yeah, I don't see them either.
So, but I mean, I don't think that's a lot to ask, to be honest. I have that in my yard and I cut them all the time.
Yeah, we would just want it to
They
be
will
done.
eventually just kill the trees and then you lose the forest. I agree. You just gotta cut them and keep cutting them back every so often.
Yeah,
I don't think that would be a problem to put something like that in the order of conditions.
okay. Other commission members have any questions before I go?
Why don't you jump in?
Okay. Right, I mean, the invasives management, yeah, would be just sort of in perpetuity clipping the ones that are at least going on the trees. And doing it manually without chemicals, given its proximity to the vernal pool. And so we would condition it that way, plus we'd allow a condition where they could do manual pulling of any of the other bittersweet between the trees and the fence, if they wanted to. Because it's basically grasses and bittersweet right now, that with some trees starting to grow. But so there's the invasives issue, and there's the issue of, which I don't know how we deal with, of whether the area is there's a bit of area or buffer zone that I guess is being maintained as lawn that's in the buffer zone to the right on this thing. That seems to be on the neighboring property, I guess, the one we were just talking about. I was wondering whether I would say here that area that's at least in the buffer zone should no longer be maintained. And I don't know who I would like to, how that's going to get resolved. But it looks like it's being done by these people at 266. But we'd like that area, I'm suggesting that area in our buffer zone no longer be maintained.
So, Michael, that area would be like right to the right here, where there's kind of where the north arrow is sitting.
Exactly. Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
because the lawn comes all the way up in here, and there's a garden over there, and
oh yeah, no, I'm just talking about what's in jurisdiction, that area. I don't know how much lawn, it's not clear where the lawn line is there. It might not be too much, but I think it would be
back where the fence is, like back in here.
Yeah, right. It might be straight across there, so it might just be that kind of wedge of a triangle.
Yeah.
Kind of pizza shape that could be stopped being maintained. I don't know. Yeah,
Well, I don't necessarily agree with that. I mean, I don't know how long that was a lawn. I don't know if that was an existing lawn, regardless of who's been maintaining it. I just, and it's not even clear. I mean, it's on this plan, it's shown as not part of this parcel. So I'm not sure how that's a jurisdictional issue as part of this application.
I wouldn't put it as a condition in this because it's not on their property. I'm just bringing it up as an issue for them to, ops for, excuse me, that I guess I'll have to go figure it out with the new property, with the other property then. But to the extent that they're actually maintaining it that way, I would like to see if that stopped, but maybe you others disagree, whether you feel like it's been grandfathered somehow. But we don't have to deal with that tonight. We could talk about that separately. But yeah, other than the invasives removal and the erosion control seems reasonable. I guess that's,
Michael, I saw,
yeah, I see other people are here that I want to go to the public. I'd like to, oh, Steve.
I just have a question on the maintenance of the invasives. You use the word in perpetuity or something like that. So it's a long-term thing you have to control. Is there any way to enforce that? Is that realistic?
It's possible to check on it, but it's more somewhat aspirational. But we want them to have that ability to keep doing it. It's more of making sure that it's something that they're permitted to do on an ongoing basis, as opposed to having to come back to the commission for doing activity in the buffer zone.
Okay, totally support that, and hopefully encourage them to do it in perpetuity or long term.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm going to open it up to, before we can talk about it more up at the commission level, I just want to open it up to the public because I see that there are other people here, some abutters. Does anybody want to ask any questions or speak? Just speak up, because I can't see everybody's hands and things.
I can speak.
Oh, hold on. Take your turns. I'll let Esther go first if you're far away. No. Do you want to go? Is that?
Esther, I think that's Eugene, maybe.
I know. I see it's Eugene. Yeah, Eugene, you still have the connection?
Hi. Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. Yes, we're speaking of 266 Washington at the moment.
Correct.
Hello.
Yeah. Can
Yes,
you hear me?
I hope that the commission received my emails.
We received your emails. It was a little.
I hope the commission received my emails.
Yeah. Can you hear us? Can you hear me? Because there was an issue about talking about flooding possibilities, and you sent some pictures. But as was discussed just before you, I think, got on, that the pool area where they're doing it now is sort of over a berm, and that water flows would go away from the vernal pool area, from where the pool would be. And so there was, it's unclear how that might cause any flooding issues whatsoever. And there's erosion control on the side of the project towards the vernal pool, so that there won't be any soil or sedimentation going in that direction during the project. And if there is any, that will be cleaned up. And there's a good healthy buffer zone. The project is over 100, it's probably.
Yeah, Steve, the question is, on an ongoing basis, as I showed in my pictures, we're a very low-lying area. And I believe that there is going to be a risk of flooding as a result. And in any case, it deserves a little bit more attention or research to address this potential risk, particularly since we have a certified vernal pool. And I don't even know what the regulation is as far as how close a dwelling, or not to mention an in-ground pool can be to a vernal pool, an in-ground swimming pool, but I think that's enough.
I guess I'll just say that at this point, the project work is a little over 100 feet from the edge of the vernal pool. It's a little bit less than 100 feet from the vegetated wetlands around the vernal pool. And that's where our jurisdiction ends. And so I could believe we could consider some sort of condition to check for any flooding issues that arise, which would have to then be addressed. At this point, we're not quite seeing how that would arise from this project, from this particular project, but that if somehow something does arise that we could attribute to this project, we can condition it to say that some mitigation will then be needed to correct any of that kind of flooding, and that somehow could be attributed to this particular project. I'm not quite sure what other studies, as somebody said, as Rob Truex said, that the groundwater is very low there, so that it's a little unclear, and it's fairly porous soils, so that there should be reasonable infiltration, even under significant conditions. And if there is a heavy storm, it should sheet the other way, as they call it, flood the other way. But we could have a condition about monitoring for any kind of issues that happen in the buffer zone of the vernal pool, and therefore, and that would be a basis for having to revisit the project if that arises. I don't know what other commissioners think about that kind of conditioning.
I mean, it's kind of a standard condition that if there's an adverse impact to the wetland in some way, you know, such as sedimentation going that way, or if somebody pumped all their pool water that way, the commission is always empowered to act and issue a violation and ask for the thing to be corrected. I think, as Michael was pointing out, this is over 100 feet from the vernal pool. And yes, we actually in town, regardless if a vernal pool is certified or not, it's protected, and we have jurisdiction and protect the land within 100 feet of the vernal pool. And there's a little bit of vegetated wetland that surrounds that vernal pool. So their project just barely crawls into the edge of the buffer zone, and it's within an area that's already lawn, which is generally treated as a less valuable buffer zone than untouched or unaltered buffer zone. So this is less than 300 square feet of impervious area that they are adding within the buffer zone. And part of the conditions I think the commission has put in place pretty standardly for swimming pools is that any water that comes out of the pool, say they need to lower the level, that water needs to not be directed into a buffer zone or wetland or resource area. So that is one of the conditions that stands in perpetuity. And then obviously we're going to put conditions around construction where they can stockpile materials, what they do with those materials. They need to have erosion controls, and the Conservation Commission's agent comes out and meets with the construction team before it happens. They check the erosion controls, they can inspect things while they're happening, and they check things after they're constructed. So there's supervision all through the process, just to kind of give you an idea of how this is going to go.
Does that answer your?
Thank you. Thank you. But my question is, you said that it is in the buffer zone. Can can the development be located closer to the existing home so that it is not close to the buffer zone? Because we have a very high risk area here. This is a low-lying area, very close to very valuable conservation land, and of course the certified vernal pool.
Rob, do you have any insight on why the project couldn't be moved closer to the house, or maybe towards the swing set to kind of inch it out of there?
I just think it was the preference of the homeowners where they placed it. They do have a backyard, existing patio area that's an outdoor grilling and sitting area. And I think they were trying to keep it in close proximity to that. And it's, it's pretty close to that, actually. It's only about 15 feet away from the existing patio. So I just think they were keeping a little space in there. They didn't want to crowd it up on the house or on the existing patio. I don't think moving it 3 or 4 feet, 5 feet is going to change anything in that area. I mean, this is, like I said, that pool sits at a high point. The runoff from this site goes towards Washington Street. The area he's talking about is the vernal pool. This site, if you look at an overall aerial of the area, his site, he lives up on Brook Street side, and his site trains from Brook Street, trains down into that wetland, into that vernal pool area. And even if this site flowed towards the wetland, it wouldn't cause his home to see any flooding, because it would have to go uphill once it went downhill to get to his home site.
But
That
that's
vernal pool is
not his issue.
down gradient of his site, and I don't think there's any risk at all of this project providing, creating a flooding issue towards any abutting property or towards that wetland.
Yeah, right. So it's small enough that, right, it's like saying the proposed pool house, slide it a few feet so it's out of the buffer zone. Right, those kind of little tweaks in existing lawn are tricky for at least for me as a commissioner, to push hard on with homeowners.
Just one comment. I would actually prefer that the little slice of the pool and the pool house stay in the jurisdictional area, because at that point we can supervise the project and look at the results. Whereas if it were moved out entirely, we wouldn't be able to do that.
Oh, that's an interesting point. That's true. If everything was out of the buffer zone, we would have no, right. Okay, I'll take back my little thing there. I don't know if that is of any value to the butters, that kind of that we do have say in the process as it is currently set up.
I think the other question is, if it cannot be moved closer to the, can you hear me,
Yes.
Steve? I'm sorry, I'm on an international flight, so it's very hard for me to communicate. I have not seen the plans.
Oh,
I only heard about this meeting on Saturday. I again, please beg the commission to consider further input and consideration before a final determination is made. Alternative sites such as closer to the patio, away from the buffer zone, or even to the east of the patio, clearly away and more aligned to the current dwelling as far as the distance from the buffer zone. And again, a certified vernal pool, which is this is not just some concern about runoff of chlorine water. This is a very valuable habitat. I'm sorry, I think I'm going to be cut off very soon, but that's really my final comment.
Thank you. Sarah, did you want to add something before we?
Sure. Yeah, I'm a butter on the other side in 270. So I spend a lot of time in this site pretty much every day. Yeah, I appreciate the suggestion of dealing with the invasives. When the house was a rental, I used to manually do a lot of work in that area. It's pretty extensive and it's pulling down the trees. So I think that would be great support to the project. I don't think the owners are necessarily aware, but their landscapers also dump a lot of grass clippings on the back, maybe even off the property, definitely well into the buffer zone, just uphill from the vernal pool. So I don't know if there could be, it's not really about this project, but just a reminder.
That will be part of the conditioning that has to.
That
Maybe
was
you saw
actually
it.
Yeah,
We
that was
noticed-
actually also on our list. We saw that during our
I think
site
it's quite recent and they may not have even known about it, but I think it would be a great
Oh yeah, that will be
opportunity
definitely
to
taken care
mention
of.
that. Yeah, and I think it will be I don't know, I submitted, as I sent an email, I did submit, my daughter and I did a kind of project observing and submitted the materials for certification for the pool in last February. I don't know what happens to them after that, but we did go through the process. I don't think it makes a difference to your
It doesn't
process, but I
we
just
protect,
wanted
we
to
protect
add it.
them equally.
Thank you.
Whereas the state would only protect it if it was certified. It's really cool that you went to the trouble to
It was kind of a fun
get it
project that we
certified.
did,
Yeah,
so.
I was really impressed with that.
Thanks. So yeah, I think those were it being uphill was a concern, but I think your plans were helpful in understanding what direction the runoff would be, but definitely the invasives would be my main, and those clippings were the main things I wanted to share. I had no idea about the property line in their garden and so on, but that's pretty.
That's for another place.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Sarah. I also want to say that I appreciated everyone's written comments. It was helpful to get those before the meeting. They're in the meeting folder if anybody wants to see them. And Sarah, I thought all your recommendations were spot on, and I'm like, if you ever feel like joining the Conservation Commission, you know where to find us.
Thank you. I'll think about it. Thanks.
Good work, Courtney.
For your work.
Not the answer now. Please just think about it. Okay. What do we think about his request that somehow more work needs to be done before making a decision tonight about this? Because at this point, with conditioning about the grass clippings, oh yeah, there would also be conditions about putting some signage markers on the fence, and also going out into the field where the 100-foot buffer zone, well, along the fence, and then along the 100-foot buffer zone where it strays from the fence to the west, there'd be some markers noting that it's a wetland jurisdictional area and that they shouldn't be doing any activity in there. And so, except for the invasives removal that we would include. So there's markers, there's issues around where the pool can be drained, invasives issue, the grass clippings, and conditions about if there's any signs of any erosion or sedimentation arising from this effort that would have to be addressed. And question is whether what further study or looking into could be done that would change how we do this. We can ask them to move it out, but I actually will find Jacob's argument kind of interesting.
Rob, do you think you need to discuss these conditions with your clients?
Because we generally prefer that, because we would leave the hearing and we would just move it to the next one where you can come back to us and we can then close it.
I don't think you've added any conditions that are, earth shattering. I mean, the signs, the cleaning up the grass clippings, the invasives. I mean, I don't think any of that's, I saw the grass clippings as well when I was out there with you, Courtney, and yeah, I mean, they're not even on its property, probably. So, and that thing on the other side is probably gonna get dealt with in another manner, the work or
Yeah,
whatever.
I don't think that's even
Right.
a topic for this, but
But
you might-
I don't think these conditions are unreasonable, at all. I think the signage, the invasives, I mean,
yeah,
they're all
I
good
guess
conditions. I don't think they'll have a problem with it.
I'm just trying to feel out what your urgency is for closing this hearing.
I think they want to put the pool in the fall so they can come back and complete it in the spring. They like the things to settle through the winter around the pool, the settling. Then they'd come back and do the patio and all that in the spring.
Right.
They'd like to get it in the ground before winter.
You think it'd be a problem if we continued it to the next meeting, just to make sure that they're okay with this stuff?
When's the next meeting? 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
Probably be all right. Is there an appeal period on the,
Yeah,
is there still a
absolutely.
10-day appeal period on the local?
There's a 10-day, yeah, there's a 10, oh, yeah, I think, oh,
This is
that's,
under the local, yeah.
I think there's still, yeah, I can't remember, to be honest.
I think there is.
Yeah, probably is.
It's a period after the order's signed, so it's
Correct.
So it'd be another week after the next meeting, basically.
So what's
And,
we're going, today is, that's gonna get us into mid-September.
September 5th, so it'd be another week, it'd be September 12th. And
I think that will be okay. If we give them let them know that things went well and these are
okay,
the conditions that we need to discuss and,
Yeah, we'll draft the conditions for the next meeting, so.
right,
okay,
let's do that. That's fine.
okay. Joyce, when do we want to continue this to?
Joyce is not here at the moment. Perhaps Deb can help us.
Oh, really? Oh, she was here for a while. Oh, she's gone already, again.
Oh, she signed up at the beginning of this discussion. She is recused.
Oh, yeah, right, okay. Deb, do we have anything for September 5th? Whoops, Deb, I can't hear you, you're muted. Well, in the sake of that, we will probably pick a time now, and worst comes to worst, if we have to schedule something else, if there's a conflict, we will just.
Wait,
move
let me
the meeting.
text her and see if I can get her back on, Joyce, and then she can tell us what time.
Okay. But otherwise, we'll move it to something early, and then if if there's a conflict, we'll just tell you, Rob, that we'll move it to later during the meeting, when we open it.
Michael, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. The plans were kind of covering me up and I had to scramble, but the only scheduled hearing would be for 8 o'clock. That's the only thing we have right now.
Okay,
And of course, previously scheduled for old. Oh, goodness gracious. There is one other, but we have flexibility about its timing because it's already been advertised.
okay.
So we have
So we
flexibility.
can do it at 7:20. Let's just move this. Okay, I move to continue this hearing on 266 Washington Street to September 5th, 2024 at 7:20.
Second,
Any further discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Michael, I, Courtney,
aye.
Jacob,
aye.
Kurt,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Steve.
Aye.
Okay. We're done. So we'll, you can talk with Joyce during the week to make sure everything's going smoothly, Rob.
Okay.
Not
Thank
Joyce,
you,
but
everyone.
With Courtney. Okay,
All right, let me stop
Bye, thank
sharing
you.
this thing.
okay,
Okay, thank you. Have a good
All right.
night.
you too. Okay, we're a little behind schedule here. Okay, now we have Yes, the 15 minutes behind. Sorry for the folks at Peckham Hill. But it's gonna slip a little. Okay, we now have. Notice is hereby given that the Conservation Commission of the Town of Sherborn will hold a virtual public hearing using Zoom technology on August 22nd, 2024. The notice of intent or NOI hearing will be held pursuant to the Sherborn Wetlands Bylaw and regulations to consider a proposal by the applicant Robert Murchison for the construction of a single-family home within a wetland buffer zone at Lot 4, 65 Farm Road, map 11, lot 60A. This application is available for viewing at the Sherborn Conservation Office. All persons desiring to be heard will be given an opportunity to speak at this hearing. Did we get, I see Joyce, you back. Did we get emails back from all the, from, I guess, the two missed?
We did.
Okay.
Yeah.
George also replied. I saw one of them at least. Okay,
I
so
saw one, I didn't see two, but,
We had one from George Fisk and one from.
okay.
okay, good.
What
So-
about the green cards for, the others? I haven't seen those.
You should have received an email an hour ago, Joyce or Deb. I'm not sure
Uh,
which. DeShang sent them in.
An hour ago?
Yeah, roughly.
Okay,
Yeah, email just scanned the green card because it haven't come in until pretty much yesterday.
okay. Okay then. We'll assume that email is there and we know where to find you if not.
Yep, I've got it.
And so, why don't you you can do a presentation.
Well, I'll start and then I'll hand it to DeShang. It's fairly straightforward. We are coming before you to build a 20-foot wide common driveway that for now would serve two homes. That may change over time. And if it does, we'll seek approval to serve for that driveway to serve more than two homes from the planning board as prescribed by their regulations. And there's a small amount of that driveway that would be built on what would be the third lot along that frontage. We're not currently seeking anything. We're not seeking your permission to do that. My feeling is that once we have your permission on the NOI for house number 4, and then as you are aware, there's an RDA at your next meeting for house number 3, then we'll come back if we get those approvals and do an RDA for that piece of the driveway that we're not seeking permission on right now. DeShang, do you want to kind of address any of the technical things in the plan? I will point out to those assembled that this driveway has been moved. First of all, it's been made 2 feet narrower, and it's been moved about 20 feet to the west from where it was proposed in the 32 home 40B project. So we've moved it further away from the resource areas. And I think that's all I have. DeShang, do you have anything to add?
Well, if you want, I can go over whatever overall the resources and related to the jurisdiction. And so I noticed on the note that we do need a DEP file number. So this is fired only under the local bylaw, as we are not ordering any ILSF. And so the wetland is isolated, stated wetland. So if you're looking to the lot line, and so if you're looking at it, basically there's IW here originally approved, but I think we are still valid until November. That's from the resource delineation perspective. And then this is the 50-foot no disturb zone to the IBW. And this, based on all the historical record, we delineated the ILSF. And it looks like they are all fall into a similar elevation from the historic high water. And we available satellite and the field observation data from 2024 to determine the ILSF the limit. So there's 100, the 50-foot and the 100-foot buffer zone to the ILSF is the main reason triggering probably all the major concerns from lot 3 to lot 4, but the as Bob just said, lot 3 is filed for an RDA for basically from this point out. So there's a very small section, but we are not discussing that. So lot 4 is entire house and the leaching field are all located outside of the 100-foot buffer to the IBW. It's definitely way outside of 100-foot buffer to the ILSF and way away from 100-foot buffer to the wetlands. So that's here. It's almost like an edge of the retaining wall. It's at the property, the driveway. So for the driveway, as you can see, we have like a detail for stormwater management. So the reason is because we carried the position Bob said no before was like about 20 feet into it, have a partial fill in the IL SF. Right now it's totally moved outside. You can see the minimum setback is about 18 feet away from it. Also added a rain garden, which is originally a stormwater basin here, but activities. So we attempted from the stormwater management for the scale of the project. So, and we also provided mitigation plantings, the trees around the edge of the driveway. So, which is detailed. Mostly are red maples. Given some of the trees will be probably impacted in the ILSF buffer zone. So if the design is in compliance with the local bylaw wetlands protection performance, and so we just open for any questions. Oh yeah.
And then there's one thing I want to add. Thank you, Desheng. I think most people know this because we've talked about this site for a long time. But I do want to let people know, if you're new to the site, that all of this area that we're discussing is long disturbed land. Obviously there is flooding. We've mapped that for you. That pond was man dug by the Mudge family back in around 1980 to water their horses. And the whole purpose of this, again, I think most people know this, of falling back and talking about doing a small number of single-family homes on the 14 acres would be instead, obviously, of the 32-home 40B that is currently in litigation. So this is about trying to find a way to move forward and not have that litigation. And that's the kind of context for tonight's conversation.
I guess it's I'll just add that from our review perspective, that's almost a separate issue, since we just have the jurisdiction of the wetlands bylaw regulations. And so that other context is somewhat neither here nor there for us in this process.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay. This property line here, I guess this is an unusual filing, given the idea of a common drive. And I'll let other commissioners speak, but I'll start off with something somewhat pointed about the fact that it's a strange one in that there's not, it doesn't include full access to the house. It's got a common driveway on it, and implying a lot bigger project, or a larger project, I would say a lot bigger. And we have a buffer zone around the isolated land subject to flooding, and it's putting a road right through the inner buffer zone. It's altered, but on the other hand, this is now an established sort of meadow. And the issue of asking for us to allow something like a road of that magnitude right through the inner buffer zone is difficult through the no alteration zone area there. And why that road can't be moved, and I'll come back to why this road can't be moved out of the buffer zone, or at least out of the no alteration, is a major question, given that the property lines here are some preliminary tentative idea.
I disagree with that, Michael. These are not some idea. These are proposed lines, which can be affected by an endorsement from the planning board of the A&R that would go with this. This is not some rough sketch on my part. I'm here in front of you tonight with a very specific project and a very specific body of work that I'm asking for your permission on, and I'm asking you to address what is before you tonight. There'll be another opportunity next week to address a very small piece of land in your purview on Lot 3. And ultimately, as I said, if and when I go to build it, I'll need to see you folks again about the land that's further to the east. But we're here tonight to talk about a very specific piece of land and a very specific body of work that's in front of you.
Sure. Then I guess my problem is the significant amount of work in the inner buffer zone, as well as the stormwater implications of something that's uncertain as to what's coming down there. I will let other commissioners speak, and then you can discuss, and then we can have some back and forth. Does other people want to bring up some questions?
Yeah, I had a number of questions from going through the plan. That makes sense to go through them.
I think if Jacob goes through his, I bet some of mine are the same questions, so he should go first.
Okay. So one question was, I didn't, either in the plan or the application, I didn't see a table of impacts in terms of here's all the activity in the various different jurisdictional areas. So for example, areas of amount of land converted to impervious surface in the inner and outer buffer zones of the various of both of the pond itself and the land subject to flooding. And so that was one of them. That impacts a number of other questions. So such as the number of trees that are going to be impacted. I see an X over one of them, but there's also grading in that whole area. So I assume that's not the extent of the impact to the existing trees. So that would also belong in that table of activities. I had similar questions around converting meadow to impervious surface in the no alteration zone of the land subject to flooding. In particular, I didn't see a discussion of why the common drive has to be there as opposed to sort of circumnavigating the exterior of it. Let's see, there was the plan had a mention of construction access. There's this diagram at the bottom, but I don't know where that refers to. It's not shown sort of, it would be where the existing driveway is or the new one. Therefore, is it in or out of a jurisdictional area? Wasn't clear. And also with the proposed common drive, I wasn't sure which way the resulting grades would be in terms of which way stormwater that lands on there is going to flow off. Is it going to flow towards Farm Road? Is it going to go off towards the pond? Is it going to go off the other day? Wasn't clear to me. And then I didn't see a notion of adding wetland bounds, sort of markers somewhere in terms of where those might go. And then the proposed mitigations, several of the, or not several, I think 2 of the proposed trees are off the lot. I think from what you said at the beginning, Bob, we're only looking at the area that sort of the only activities you're applying for here are those within the
within lot 4. So you're right. There are 2 trees that are proposed along with the rain garden that would be something that we would seek your approval from later. Right now, we're just seeking approval for activities on lot 4. And if you think about it, there's a reason, Jacob, just to explain it to folks, that we're doing it in this sequencing. Until we know that we're going to get regulatory approvals on lot 3 and lot 4, I'm not going to go and design the next lot. And the next lot potentially will have things in your purview in other areas. And I don't want to come and do an NOI that I don't need to do right now until we know the full scope of what will be in your purview on the next lot to the east. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And about Jacob, your question about the I mean, I think the amount of impervious surface is pretty straightforward here. It's 20 by the length
by a couple hundred feet. Yeah, so
of the driveway,
but it's a significant amount.
Yes, it's 20 by, I can scale it for you, but it's not a difficult, not a difficult calculation, obviously.
Right. It's a standard thing we ask for as part of the plan or the.
Sure, we can certainly add that to the plan. In other words, we're here tonight to figure out what your needs are, and we're happy to make the.
In particular, the reason. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just saying that we know we're not going to come in with everything the way you want to see it on the plan tonight, and we'd love to get that feedback and come back to you with the things you want on it.
Yeah, and I think the main set of feedback around that is does adding that within the no alteration zone, are there any alternatives to that? If so, what, why, or why not? I think that was the end of my list.
Is that a question for me? I mean, we obviously, in order to have the driveway come up and service these 2 homes, we need to have a driveway. There's currently a dirt driveway, as you know, that's significantly to the west. We're building a house in that area. The other house, and in some ways, having the driveway where it is, I think we'll have Jisheng can correct me if I'm wrong about this, but I think there's a fair number of reasonable trees that we can not disturb. If you pull that driveway to the west, you're going to run it right through a whole series of trees going up the old dirt road. That's where the trees are along the old dirt road, and we're running the driveway to the east of them primarily.
I see. I was assuming that because there's grading shown throughout that entire front yard, that those trees would all have to be removed.
Yeah, I would ask Desheng to comment on that. Desheng, do you think we can? My preference is to save every nice tree we can. It's good for the site. It's good for everyone. And I'll ask Desheng to comment on that.
Okay, so Jacob, is all good questions. Appreciated that. And as you notice from engineering perspective, and so any of the impervious area the plan presented is all in scale. I'm not just saying the table is not necessary, but from the quantitative perspective. So every aspect of the land use change, including existing trees, and the wetlands are presented on the plan in the full extent. That's just, but we will provide land breaking downs. So the area, as Bob said, it's not a virgin land. It is maintained, cut and mowed at least a couple of times a year, or from what we know, and maintained. So the disturbance is a disturbed area. So because of that, and also even though 40B is not in play in reviewing this project, but definitely is ongoing, permitting ongoing in my view perspective, as far as compare the impact to the resources. So it should be some kind of reference play in evaluating.
All right, Desheng, I just have to cut you off there. Can we just focus on the plan that we have before us? We're not evaluating a 40B and whether this is better than that. We just want to know the driveway, does it need to be 20 feet wide? The commission has already.
So I can comment on that, Courtney, if you like.
That'd be great.
I have a call into the fire chief, and that driveway can be, I would like it to be as narrow as possible within the confines of good public safety. I have a call into Zach. I believe he's probably on vacation because he's normally really good about returning calls. And so I don't have an answer from him. If Zach comes back and says that driveway can be 16 feet, you got it.
Yeah, that would be great.
I don't want a wide driveway.
Yeah,
It's about public safety.
Our goal is to minimize, impervious area in the buffer zone in our jurisdiction, and minimize the impacts. So we just need to know things like, can you make the driveway narrower? That would decrease it. Can you move it further away from the resource? Like that would be another question. And like you may have answers to that. You may need to like go back and think on it and give us another answer at the next meeting. There's no urgency to address that.
Well, there's urgency to me, Courtney.
Yeah, but you said there's things we need to figure out, that you're going to come back with the tables and whatnot. So we want to get as much of our requests out on the table for you.
Right, but doesn't it seem kind of silly for me to go back and do a bunch of work on this plan if the commission's perspective is you're not going to allow it? In other words, let's have a real conversation about what's going to work, and I'll go back and make the changes. With regard to the width, as I said, I want it as narrow as possible within the confines of public safety. I think we all want that same thing. It costs less to build, it's less intrusive on the buffer zone, it's prettier to look at.
All right, we're all on the same page there. That's the easiest part of all of this.
Right. And so in terms of moving the driveway further away, I totally understand wanting to save the trees. I'm not 100% sure with that level of grading. I can't read it on this plan. It's too small, even when I zoom in. But like, it looks like if you're adding a couple feet, if things are getting raised up, I mean, from where they currently are, that it's probably not going to bode well for those trees, right?
Well, Desheng, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, if you probably see some of the trees
What's that?
So if you're looking at, so we did mark to remove the trees, so it means we're going to save those trees. All right, so that's basically our plan. If you have like a 1 foot of fill around it, it's going to kill it. And so that's probably under debate, but it's at this point, except this tree because it's in the way of constructing the driveway, we have to cut it. But those trees at this point, we are proposing to save it. So from the grading perspective, it's probably, there's a foot of, let me see, this is 219. So it's probably maximum 2 feet fill. So this is probably like about a foot. So 1 to 2 feet of fill. And so we feel it's practical to save them at this point. We're not, cutting the roots out.
Isn't that 3 feet of fill right there? If it's 219 and the contour right by the tree there, if you, right there, oops.
221.
That's 221 and that's 219 underneath.
Yeah,
Well, that's
221 to 19 is
okay.
2 feet, right?
That's 2 feet. Okay, that's 221.
Yeah.
Okay, you got 1 foot contours. Okay, thank you.
Oh. And then we also proposing a new planting of trees, so more than what we cut. So to have to form the buffer and shade around the IVW. So so most of that meadow is going to be preserved. So it's more than 50 feet. If you're looking the really buffer 50-foot no disturb zone to the IVWs here. The ISFF is pretty much open upland area, but again, I'm not saying any, but under the state, so there's no really buffer or impact.
We're not talking about the state, so let's
No,
just.
I understand, but there's some
let's just
differences
stay
from
focused.
technical perspective. So I understand.
Courtney, I
So
think
I'm
it's
just putting the
relevant, I
context
think
for
it's
evaluation.
relevant information that the state has 0 buffer zone to this resource and you have 100 feet. That's relevant.
It's not relevant. We're considering this under our regulation.
Okay.
And so I just had a simple question about the trees. I'm just worried that 3 feet of fill around the base of a mature.
Two, maximum 2 feet.
Shane just said 1 to 2.
Okay, because I'm not sure that those trees are gonna survive. So it's just a point to consider. Perhaps it would be more beneficial to scooch the driveway that way, even if we lose those trees.
So Courtney, I'm someone who I'm willing to have this conversation. I just don't want to have it over 6 weeks. Where do you want the driveway? What would work for you and your fellow commissioners? Let's have that conversation.
Yeah, we're telling you to move it away from the resource.
How much?
Out of the no alteration zone?
No, no. Absolutely not.
Just cannot be done because when you move into that definitely with the trees. And as I said, even though we say have a 2 feet of, if you are concerned about the 2 feet.
Separate
we
from the
can deflate
trees,
it.
we already have, is the trees your only reason for not moving it out of the no
Not
alteration?
just the trees, the setbacks and the safety setbacks, and then also we're going to changing probably the shape. If we have to avoid a little bit to curve it out, and then we have to meet all the well setback, all the things that's going to be in the layout, public safety concern, so complicated.
So what
Courtney,
setback?
if you need 10 feet, we can have that conversation. If you need
Okay.
30 feet, we can't have that conversation.
Okay, that's very helpful.
Okay.
And the reason 30 feet doesn't work for you is because of the well and trees?
No, it's because of the
setback.
septic system is fixed, right? We all understand how that works. The septic system is fixed, then you have the house, and then you don't want to put a common driveway right on top of the house. That's the issue.
And that comes back to what I was struggling with in the beginning is that we're looking at, these are property lines that you drew with some rationale beyond what we see here. And that.
Yeah, I have to meet zoning requirements, obviously.
Right, but they're property lines that are not yet fixed. And I
Believe
don't.
me, Michael, believe me when I tell you, I have stared at these property lines for way more hours than I can count. The property lines need to be more or less where they are. I'm not saying they can't be moved by a few feet here or there, but it doesn't work to rework the property lines in any significant way. They need to be this way for many different reasons, including obviously in the town of Sherborn, we need to put septic systems in the best possible soil. And we have identified that best possible soil. So that's where you start in this town, is where you can have approvable septic systems. That's what we've done. Then you place the house and then you place the driveway. That's what you're looking at. And, you know, frankly, this is all disturbed land, and I just don't, I'm not seeing the harm. Courtney, I'm happy to work with you. Let's talk about what works and we can compromise. But
I
you know,
think
it's not a huge move of that driveway to the west.
well, I think if you move it 10 feet away from the resource area, you said you're investigating how narrow you can make it. I think that's going to decrease the amount of impervious area that's
Well,
in
it's
that.
gonna, if I narrow the driveway, it'll decrease the amount of impervious area, obviously. If I just move it, it's the same amount of impervious area.
No, aren't you moving outside the buffer zone?
Not the 100-foot buffer zone, no.
Not even 50. I don't think that you can, if this is a 50-foot, if you move to here, the house is going to be like on the face on top of the common driveway. Okay, this is the 50-foot. So there's a 250-foot buffer line. One is to the wetlands, one is to the ILSF for 100-year kind of.
Which
level.
color? Which color? Or you just hold
There's the
on.
light blue.
The light blue.
Light blue is
Okay. Okay. So that, all right.
The 100-foot, Courtney, is near the house. It's like the front
Yeah.
porch of the house.
But I'm looking at the 100-foot buffer zone to the wetlands as well. I mean, you're decreasing all that impervious area if, you know, by making those alterations. How big is that utility trench on the plan? I've zoomed in. I can't get a sense of scale right now.
Well, the
utility change is impervious, so it's not. I'm not.
No,
sure.
I'm just trying to get a sense. You said you could probably move it 10 feet. Like, how wide is the utility trench? Moving
It's
the
about
drive
3 feet.
is how many feet?
About 3.
He said 3 feet, Courtney.
Okay, so I'm just trying to get an idea. Like you said, you could scoot it over 10 feet. That would actually take you in the right direction. It would be yeah. I think that
Yeah, Courtney, I agree. I agree with you on that. I mean,
Yeah.
look how close the 2024 high water line is. I mean, we're talking 10 feet. I mean, that makes quick.
10 feet
I would
is
think
half
that
of
would
the
make a big
driveway.
difference.
So this is half of the driveway. The driveway is 20 feet, so it's half of the driveway.
yeah,
I guess certainly that helps, if not more, but
well, I'm just looking if the driveway that other side is moving 10 feet. It's moving stuff out of buffer zones.
Certainly, it's 10 feet, and we're
Right.
willing to work with you on that. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's totally reasonable, and whatever the fire chief is willing to give you.
Yeah, I'll give you whatever I'll give you 10 feet plus whatever the fire chief gives us, right? And that might be nothing. I don't know. You know,
safety,
I mean, we can't tell you what the fire chief is going to say. But if you can make it narrower, that would be ideal.
I mean, I'm totally 100% in alignment with you on that. Absolutely.
Definitely comes out with the fire chief and whatever we can get it from. So if this public safety is not an issue, Bobby already said, I don't think we need to state that any more. The question is, when we move it, I just want to say we are moving away from the ILSF, but it not necessarily reduce the impervious area in the buffer zone because the buffer zone is way here, but it is going to be.
But it's further away. It's further away.
Right.
It's further from the wetlands, which is, that's always better.
Correct.
Right, yeah, I agree. So I just want to be accurate, describe the issue. So as we discussed, where I'm not disagree with what it's just. Okay, I think from Jacob's perspective, we could with here actually we should be able to modify the grading, if the concern about saving the trees is about fill, we can definitely grade it around the tree. So as much as we can to save the tree better. So that can be done. The construction entrance questions, it definitely probably should be applying to both. Maybe at the beginning, we are going to use the existing driveway.
Existing, yeah.
And then, so after the existing the new driveway in, so we probably will use one because we have to eliminate that driveway. So there's going to be a dynamic. We get to, we'll check it. We will make sure I clarify that. So those are valid, really important questions. And
one of the things, just back to the trees for a second, you know, some of those trees are dead or dying, and you know, obviously we're not going to want to work to maintain dead or dying trees. We can, you know, we can get a pretty good idea. Maybe Wes can come over and help us figure that out, about which trees are worth saving and which trees aren't. But, you know, we can have somebody who knows about this stuff. But I don't want to say to you all of those trees which are shaded in on this plan are going to stay, because if they're just horrific trees, then we're not going to want to keep them.
Right. I'm gonna,
Right.
I
Oh,
still
I was
have,
gonna say, if they already dead or dying, yeah, just mark that on the plan.
Yeah, we can do that.
yeah, I mean, probably some people in the commission.
If I
Hold
may,
on, hold
I
on,
want to address
hold
the
on.
questions of the
Shang.
comments from Jacob.
Which other comment do you want to address?
So the flow path and the, you know, all the things, I think if there's a question, I can provide him some answers professionally. I don't want to going into just debating for debate. So let's get in some really issues on the table and go over, right?
Okay, whereas maybe others, the 10 feet might be enough for some others. I'm still uncertain, but I'm going to move on to some points of what is the landscaping plan for this property, and to what extent will you're going to have, where is the edge of lawn going to be, given that you're in a couple of buffer zones there, and
Well, Michael, it's all lawn now.
I guess I disagree that it's all lawn, but that's we'll
Probably will not. Well, it's lawn or it's dirt road. It's there's.
Well, excuse me, Bob. We can let them to maybe express and whatever the concern. Let's take in the note first before we probably actively engage every single item. If you have a list, we will wait and you give your comments. I think it's probably not going to be productive if we go into the engaging instant debating. So I would think let's get the list from the commission or whatever. So that's not that. We'll just provide a factual.
Okay, point for me is that having that I don't see that all lawn in front of there is equivalent to the kind of buffer zone that there is now, even if it's mowed occasionally once a year. If you want to keep it as a field that's mowed once a year, that's a lot different than a manicured lawn in terms of.
So what I would answer to that, Michael, is that certainly everything to the east of the driveway will be field. And I'm not really a green grass kind of lawn type of guy, but you know, there's nothing there now. It's dirt is what it is in the area where the house is going. And will
We're not talking about the house.
Sure.
That's out of jurisdiction.
So you're talking about where the trees are in that last 10 feet?
I'm talking about a buffer zone. I'm talking about the buffer zone for these.
I think so. I think Bob, we will mark it like so. Right now we have to present it on the plan. So I think it's a reasonable request. You want to know what's the proposed limit of lawn, and we will do it. I think so. We will provide it. As far as the impact, we will go from there, because without joining on the plan, then it's going to be not very, in my view, productive to discuss the impact.
Right, okay, I'm just giving you the, at least my point of view, that lawn, that whole area.
I made a note.
I don't think
you want the limit
adequate
of
mitigation.
lawn.
There's no mitigation. You're basically creating all of that impervious area. And there's no essential mitigation for any of that. And I'm still concerned about the stormwater, that even though it's one lot, this whole idea of giving us one lot and then another lot with a common driveway, that I don't see where there's adequate stormwater management going on, and I guess I'd have to go get some regulatory advice about the fact that carving it up into 5 parcels and doing it in incremental permits, how that deals with the stormwater management issue.
But
That,
Michael, the truth is that the other houses, if and when they're permitted and built, are all completely out of your purview, way, way away from your purview. If we come and seek to permit them. And I'm not trying to, obviously the idea is to do more than just these 2. I'm open about that. However,
right, we
beyond
might
these
not have any
2
say on those. Right.
Beyond these 2, they're all way out of purview.
Yes, but the stormwater issue comes into this area.
The stormwater is the same stormwater because it's the same driveway in your purview. It's not going to change whether we
Yes.
build 3 more houses or not.
Yes, it will, because there'll be a lot more upstream pervious area flowing into this. And unless,
Hundreds and hundreds of feet away from your jurisdiction.
I guess when we see the rest of the driveways or the next one, then
The idea is
do
2
we-
more houses way up on that, what I call mesa in the back, which is.
Bob, if I make.
How do I know? How do I know
We
that?
can't regulate things that we don't know. We can regulate what's before you tonight.
Yes, or
If I may, so
Yes.
providing the engineer answer, I don't think it's going anywhere for just debating whether from a jurisdiction. So Mike, you said you didn't see any Asian, so I respectfully disagree with that. As I kind of described it, I know under the local bylaw, you don't have a stormwater management bylaw. I'm just trying to first to stating as engineer what I designed according to compliance, okay? So because otherwise we don't have a base to discuss. So as the single family house, even 2 or 3 or 4. So it's under the current state stormwater management, so regulation. So we are in full compliance in that. If you go with some towns like Natick and many other towns have their local stormwater management bylaw. So the things they apply to this kind of situation pretty much similar to here, as I can shed the light from my technical experience, is you have to treat 1 inch stormwater volume. Okay, so if you can treat and contain it, it will be considered 90% TSS removal. That's what you probably will need to be concerned, okay? And if you look in our design around the driveway, we have a stone trench apron, which will fully treat 1 inch runoff volume for the driveway, which is going to carry all the way to the top. The one you consider may be extended, okay? That's the facts.
Oh,
And so.
okay. I just need to interrupt for a sec for a time check. We have another hearing.
yes, we do. And I want to get out of the issue so that, as Bob said, we don't want to wrestle. I mean, the stormwater issue.
So you
Yes.
have a question about stormwater, and you said you have regulatory questions that you wish to investigate.
Well, I just want to understand where he thinks that little cross section about a private driveway down at the bottom there. Where is that on the, what is that referencing? Is that the beginning of the 16-foot driveway to the house? That little diagram there? Is that what you're?
No, this is the common driveway. If you
No, it's the
see
common
stone-
driveway.
It's the
the
common
stone trench-
driveway.
The stone trench is on both sides of it. It's like clearly depicted. And then we also have a rain garden.
I know the
So-
problem is it's not in this permit. It's not, those are things that are just They're not in the.
As far as I know, right now, we have a proposed tentative lot line. That's why we have to notify the abutters on the other side, because right now, the whole property is under one parcel, as far as I know. So, okay,
Right.
so I may disagree with Bobby on that perspective. I think we have the right to put the rain garden here for this aspect, because the whole thing is under one assessor's parcel. Bob, I'm right? You haven't
It is one assessor's.
Yes,
parcel.
that's right. That's
These
what
are-
I mean.
These are
This is just a-
proposed A&R
Yeah,
lines. Yes.
right. So this is just tentative lot lines, but the project as proposed, we are filed under the whole entire parcel. Okay, so therefore, I believe the whole thing for the stormwater, including the stormwater basin and the common driveway is, I mean, it's a legitimate proposal. I don't think we have to wait until the future for subdivision, so.
So you just need to show that as one, you know.
If that's what the preference of the commission is, we can do that. I assumed that you wanted to kind of see it this way, but if you don't, we're happy to change it for you.
So when you and I
that's
talked
not-
about this to try and get everything on the same parcel to permit the whole thing at once, you said you did not want to do that.
I don't think it's the right way to look at it, Joyce, but if that's what the commission wants to do, then.
But if you
we
want
can-
to try and permit everything at once and not have to come back with a separate lot, wouldn't it make more sense to include it now?
Sure. I stand corrected.
No, we can discuss all this, so, well, definitely we have a tentative subdivision line, but at this point, it's not the final legal law, right? So if that's the case, I think we have the legal right to propose a full mitigation engineering. That's what I understand. So I haven't probably get the full legal advice or perspective.
You and you and Bob can just tell us how you want us to look at it. I mean,
Well, so you're right, Courtney. Deshang is right that we notified people based on the entire 14-acre parcel. That's how we notified abutters. And we're happy to come back and take those interior lot lines away and treat all of the work which we're proposing right now, which is, you can see between 3 and 4. That's what we're proposing right now. We can
So why
take
don't
the
you
lines
keep it,
off.
but why don't you keep it practical and just include that area of the, because you want to come back with lot 3 separate. So just for now, include the stormwater and the entrance to your
Sure.
driveway on this.
So that's a kind of a halfway way of doing it, and I'm happy to do that. Sure.
Well, again, you know something, Bob, you do what you need to do, but we've already talked about the fact that you can't do anything with this until you permit the back
Yes,
lot because you haven't permitted the entrance.
But what we all know is that in the town of Sherborn, the Board of Health will not review septic plans and tell us whether these are projects that can happen until you all finish the NOI. And so it puts anyone trying to develop land into a very difficult situation of having to get this in front of you first. And that's why it's complicated. That's what's causing the complication here.
I may recommend it, so one is, so by fact, we are under one legal law, but at the same time, we are seeking to subdividing into individual A&R lot. That's just the two basic, simple legal approach and facts. So under that, from my experience, we can file for the common stormwater, common driveway for within the jurisdiction.
I hate to keep interrupting you, but you said that already. I buy it totally. You don't need to say it again. So I just need to know. So you're gonna include this first part of the common driveway and the rain garden, which is the stormwater, and that lot, when you ultimately take it, separate it out, is that going to have another house with a septic? So Or is that like, you're not gonna have to worry about that? So
But
just,
so the house will be, if and when it's proposed, will be way far away.
Okay.
Nowhere near
I-
your jurisdiction.
yeah, because I hear you're concerned about, you know, the stepwise permitting. So as long as that's not gonna mess you up, it just makes more sense with the rest of the.
Sure, I'm happy to go with,
Okay.
if you guys think that's the right way, I'm good. We can do that.
All
So
right.
just to be clear, do you want us to peel out the RDA also, or should we stay with the RDA, but then just make this little piece? You see what I'm asking?
Yeah. Joyce is
The
thinking.
RDA. What do you think, Joyce?
I just want him to include the little foot there, the entrance to the driveway and that
Yeah.
with the other lot.
Sure, as long as everybody understands that that has to change in the future, because it's critical
Yeah.
frontage.
No, we understand that. We're just trying to find a
Remind-
way for you to permit this
Yeah,
now.
no, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful.
Yeah, I know, I agree with Joyce.
I don't think we have to
recommendation.
argue about it anymore.
Yeah,
No.
it makes sense. I
Okay,
get
we'll
it.
do that. But
So-
really, what's important before we finish up tonight is what, if we move this thing 10 feet, we show some landscaping, what else do you want from us to
Yeah.
get?
So typically, you know, like Jacob said, when we look at the amount of impervious area that's being added, we're looking for generally kind of an equivalent. Please, other commissioners, correct me if I'm misspeaking because it's after 9 o'clock. A generally equivalent area of, like say, mitigation plantings of native species to help.
And I think that's what
absorb
Dishang is
runoff.
showing, no?
Well, it's a little bit hard to tell in terms of square footage. And generally it wouldn't just be trees, there would be shrubs and ground cover.
I mean, one thing, Courtney, for example, is that existing driveway is gravel and hard pack, right? It is, well, I don't know whether it's technically impervious or not. We're going to be returning that to pervious surface, and it's not today pervious surface.
And that's also a good amount of it is inside of the buffer zone. So,
Yeah.
already.
Well,
no,
I think all
it's
of it's in the buffer zone, I think.
some of them,
Some of it is, not all.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, we at this point, I would so agree with the commission's recommendation. I would discuss with Bob in maybe a little bit detail. I know it's a little bit complicated issue for even just from the legal perspective, which to file, which not to file. So I think that's why tonight we are coming to the board to hear what you have to say and what we can further the design to comply with your bylaw, because that's technically it's a bylaw owning project. And if I may just read it over, if I missed anything, or Joyce, you can provide us with a written list of comments. I have it here, the land breakdowns and the trees. So probably in detail condition in the buffer zone as existing conditions. So we can get a tree warden or whoever more familiar with it to give us some input. So sort of we know which one the trees is going to go and which will be saved for sure. It will be saved. And we heard the commission concern about the field may impact and see what we can do for grading to making that saving process the more at least agreeable. So I definitely don't want to just fighting for say it's going to kill or not going to kill, because we have to come into a very substantial reality hole to save it. So if we want to save it, and if the flow pass, we will have a good description on it. And I believe our grading plan already showed that. I'm not going, given you have another hearing coming up, and we're going to put the limit of proposed lawn, and based on the proposed landscape condition and the proposed condition, we will provide a mitigation planting, just as we did like at 53 Farm Road and there's many other Greenwood. So to reach some kind of agreement. I know it's difficult asking you to if we haven't put on the plan to ask you for approval at this point, but I think if I heard what you wanted, as I stated here, that's what we can follow up through unless you have something more to add on. Otherwise, I think it's better to have something we can do, right? Rather than not something not we can. Oh yeah, we move the driveway. So move the driveway as far as 10 feet or whatever. I would discuss that.
You can move it more. If you decide you have an insight, you can move it more, even the driveway up to the house, whether it could be less than 16 feet.
Sure.
Think
Yeah,
about
I
Go
mean,
over
as I
after we
said,
assess
Michael,
it.
I'm all about less pavement.
Right.
I agree with you.
and the landscaping plan at the 3 levels of ground cover,
Sure.
shrub and tree level, that could be, because there's a lot of mitigation for that, for the significant area of a common driveway, no matter where it ends up. It's that's a lot of area.
Yeah.
And we'll move that line, as you suggest, to include the rain garden and the first part of the driveway temporarily for
And I
purpose.
guess we have to understand how that rain garden even functions then, because I'm concerned about the runoff from that road, and impacting and how that's not going to go in towards, because the road is going to be, right, the runoff from the road, whether there are standards or not at the bylaw level, there's still the issue of avoiding runoff from the road into the buffer zone to the east even. And to make sure that it doesn't get that it doesn't just flow untreated, because there's not going to be a very large buffer zone.
Can we like
So,
try to be a little more concise just because there are people waiting?
yeah, no, I'm through. And we can always communicate by some emails.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we have our marching orders, so
Yes,
we'll
let's
go
see.
back and do the work and hopefully get it to you a little bit before the meeting, so you have time to review it and we can.
Yeah, preferably I mean, there's only 2 weeks before the next hearing. We tend to like to have all the new stuff a week ahead of time, but
We'll do our best.
Any
I'll
abutter
commit,
comment?
I'll commit, Deshane can get that done for sure.
okay, that's all right. Okay, I'm gonna, I have to, before we continue the hearing, I want to ask for if there's anybody from the public who wants to speak. Please just talk. Because I
Hi,
can't.
Brian Moore.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Brian Moore, 49 Farm Road at Butter. Just a couple things. I'm not sure that this meeting was properly noticed. I know that we received something yesterday or the day before by hand delivery from Bob in our driveway. I know that you mentioned there were 2. I think there might be more than 2 abutters who weren't properly noticed for the meeting.
We'll find out if you could find that out, but you basically, hand delivery is acceptable. And as far as we could tell, it was you and George Fisk for the land behind, and that we have written acknowledgement of the hearing. So I think unless you could come up with somebody who was not notified.
Well, the owner of 53 Farm Road is right next to this lot. I don't know if they were noticed. And Bob and Deshang would know that because they just built the house.
They didn't, well, I don't know.
Well, there's that. That's number 1. Number 2, thank you for addressing the issue that there's a common driveway and what that means moving forward, as well as the fact that the common driveway and aspects of this permit don't fall within the bounds of Lot 4. Number 3, the dirt area that the applicant and Deshang were talking about where they're building the house is a dirt area because it's a construction entrance for 53 that they were using as a construction entrance. So that used to be meadow before it was a construction entrance, and now they're going to put a house on it. You guys should consider that. Number 4, the reason that this quote unquote property is in litigation is because the applicant has failed to show that this is a buildable lot. And I would suggest that any approval be conditioned upon the same conditions that the ZBA placed as the number one reason for denying the 40B, which is that there is a restriction that for 3 years, the applicant has had the opportunity to seek a proper judicial or whatever they call it review and authorization indicating it was a buildable lot. And this is just another end around. I would suggest that you guys add a condition if you're willing to do it. That would say, we'll approve this, or we won't approve this, or whatever. But first, the applicant should show that this is actually a buildable and subdividable lot. And those are my comments. Thank you for hearing them.
So, Michael, just a couple of things. Deed restrictions are not in the purview of the Conservation Commission.
no,
And second,
Please,
make,
Yeah.
we don't need to address these comments. This is
they're
not.
out of your purview, those comments.
Bob, please, you have not been recognized by the chair. Brian has made his comments. We are accepting his comments and we're moving on.
Okay, when
We
do we?
we don't need to have an argument about them. He said what he wanted to say and we're moving on with commission business.
Yes, I know that the house itself is outside of our jurisdiction, as proposed now. And the issue around the deed, I don't know whether that's something we might just have to ask town council to say whether that's something that our permit should be,
Just so you know, it is now in litigation also, because it appears that the town wants to litigate at every turn. And that issue Brian raised is in litigation because the ZBA forced it to be in litigation, but it is completely out of the purview of the Conservation Commission.
okay, you've expressed your opinion. Okay, when are we rescheduling this hearing to? In the next meeting?
So you did 266 at 7:20.
Yeah,
Um,
is there anything else there besides the regs one that we could move around?
Deborah, what I
Is there
wasn't.
also the, I guess, do we have,
When's the RDA, Deborah? The new RDA. When was that advertised for?
That is for lot 365.
What time?
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. Okay. So
that one we could push off if we put this one at like 7:45. I'm hoping that the other one won't take that long, and plus, well,
so you think this is only going to take
15 minutes? No, I think that the.
Oh, but that's okay. But he's lot 3 anyway, so.
Right, so therefore.
All right, 7:45.
And we'll see how we do then. Okay. I move that we continue this hearing on 65 Farm Street, Lot 4. To September 5th, 2024 at 7:45 PM.
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay. Roll call vote. Michael, aye. Jacob,
Aye.
Joyce, Joyce, Courtney.
Aye.
I'm just going down the screen here. Matt,
Aye.
Kurt,
Aye. Aye.
Steve.
Aye.
Did I get you, Jacob?
I thought so.
Okay, good. I lose track after 6. Okay. We'll certainly can email between now and then, make sure we get on the same page about what we need, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The last hearing on the agenda is, we're only an hour behind schedule. But we knew that would happen. Is reopening the continued public hearing with notice of intent for 18 Peckham Hill Road, replacement of existing deck, removal of pavement, installation of landscaping within Letland Buffer Zone and riparian area. Okay, thank you for waiting through all of that. Okay, we had a site visit since then. I don't know, did you guys submit anything new? I haven't had time to go see. Yes,
Yes, we did
Yes,
some
they did.
okay,
an updated plan. I can go over some of the
sure, you can share the
differences.
screen and go over that.
Oh, yeah, okay. Let me see if I have. Yep, okay.
Yes, everything looks much more understandable now that we had the site visit.
All right, can you see the plan?
Yes,
Okay. Some of the changes we added was the 50-foot no disturb off the bank and BVW. We also added an erosion control line, limit of work line. We did a detail about the permeable patio and the construction access and staging. And then we also did this new plan. Yep, that shows the planting areas. And also, let me see. I'm looking for, hey, Wes, do you
Yes.
have the plan that has all the square footage?
I do. You want me to share my screen?
Yes,
Oh,
are you able?
it's on the third page of this thing. It's on the,
No, it's not in that, Nicole.
No, it's not in this
It's not
packet.
in that set.
oh, I see something with impervious proposed to be created.
Yep, that's for the riverfront area.
Oh,
We
okay,
at the site walk, the commission wanted some information about the impacts to the no disturb zone. So we calculated that along with the betterments of the project in that no disturb area. And let me see if, don't mind my messy screen. Let me try to find it. I have. No, I guess. Oh, yeah, here it is.
There
Can
it
you
is.
see that?
It actually goes
Yes.
along with the, it actually goes along with the graphic too, Nicole.
Yeah, on the plan, right?
Yeah,
which
Um,
page? Oh,
it's not there. It came later today. If you like, I can share my screen. And you
Yes,
can
please, if
Okay.
you're able to. Oh, I have to
Yeah, you have to unshare.
unshare. Stop share. There you go.
You all see it?
it's a common.
Yep.
Yep, there it is.
Okay.
Yep, we see it.
Okay, good. So you
Okay.
see, I can speak to it briefly, then you can
Yes.
take over, Nicole. Is that everything that's green here is what we call a benefit area in the 0 to 50 riverbank and BVW. We sum the two, and you can see the list and the sum on the left-hand side of this list here. Essentially, there's a very large 3,000 foot plus area on both sides of the stream bank, and then there are these little zones as indicated, all of which would be native plants. And then the impact areas are in this magenta color, which include a little bit of new driveway here, a bridge, a pervious stone pavement under a pergola, wall, steps, and pervious pavement here. We counted 6 raised garden beds, some stairs, and a portion of a pervious terrace.
Mm. Yes.
So, and just to summarize it, the impacts, which we are including both, like lawn to permeable, we're including any work at all within the 0 to 50 foot, no disturb area. And our proposed disturbance will be 719 square feet. And the betterment to the no disturb area through the plantings will be 4,395 square feet. So it's a huge improvement. I know there's a no disturb area, but I wanted to send forth these numbers so you can see how the essentially the planting of those areas would create such an improvement over existing conditions.
Okay. Are there any changes to the actual work itself? It's all the same work.
No.
It's just a matter of more details. I guess.
Right. It's all the same work. We just added the information that we got from you from the first hearing and then also from the site walk. We just provided the information that you requested.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioners, anybody want to make some comments before I go?
I could add some comments based mostly on the site walk. Just to start off, it's a much more, let's just say, interesting site than I realized just from seeing the plans last time. I think one of the open questions that I was trying to understand was there's been a lot of activity in the buffer zones, both in this lot and the immediately adjacent areas in recent history, and trying to understand how to take that into account when evaluating the proposed work. If I look at the plans that you have here and the proposal itself, and compare it to existing conditions as they are today, I think this is a pretty clear net benefit. I have some. We could talk about the permeable patios, for example, or things like that. But overall, it looks like a benefit. And then, so for example, when we're looking at the stream area, should we be thinking of that as restoring some of the recent work versus considering the existing conditions as the baseline that we're thinking about? You end up in a slightly different place there. Those are some of the questions that I've been pondering.
Yeah, I agree that right, to some extent of the benefit area. I mean, the tally might still work out well, but that most of the area on the upper side, I'll call it, which is probably maybe the west, but on the upper side across the stream from the house, or that looks like area that was probably originally, that was extremely vegetated, but with a lot of invasives. So the betterment there is that there's hopefully more native species there, and I guess, but in the end, that's more of somewhat of a restoration than a mitigation to some extent of my thinking, given that area was altered. But so if I look at that area and I could see part of the area along the stream on the house side is probably also just restoration. I don't know what the actual, so some of that area on the stream towards the house, I could believe it, I could accept is actual mitigation. That it's probably was lawn from before, and that it looks like it's going to be improved. I guess my question again is what's going to be on the ground, or what's the ground cover again? I know I asked this last time. What's the ground cover for all of that betterment area of green around the stream?
A lot of it's going to be perennials, shrubs, and trees. Most of it will be perennials, but Wes can speak more to that.
And how is it going to be managed, I guess, is on the ongoing basis?
Well, the way we've done it before is to let the invasive species kind of rear their head, pull out as many as possible, no use of herbicides. When it feels kind of safe, to plant the trees and shrubs, seed it with a wetland native seed mix, and then plant these pockets of perennials as indicated on the plan. And you know the list, the plant list is here. It's a pretty
Oh, yeah,
significant.
no, I'm not just looking at the ground cover level because I see that. So it's really at that level, it's a mix that will be mowed annually, or how do you think is appropriate to manage the sort of herbaceous layer?
Yeah, I think well, obviously these pockets would have to be hand weeded because they couldn't be
Right.
mowed if you wanted them to establish. But the broader area would be mowed annually, and also would require, you know, probably monthly or bi-monthly weedings just to kind of
Oh,
keep
yeah.
it in check.
Okay, so the management plan. So it would become a sort of a little bit more of like a field-like setting there, if to the extent that you keep the invasives down. Okay, and there's already trees, right? And there's trees along that property line on the upper side there that I guess the new fruit trees of some sort that are planted on the property line there are, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would, yeah, right there.
Well, they are there. Okay, so in terms of, right, for my own thinking about the balance of things, there's some betterment there, obvious to some extent, but yes, it's not a full square footage since to some extent all the invasives also has a certain wetland value. Okay, then the area, I guess one little thing is to put some markers along the property line. So that those areas are no longer, the areas that have been maintained on the neighbor's property. I don't know who is doing it, but it's beyond our purview, so to speak, is whether there'd be some markers along the way there so that the area beyond that is not managed, or if they want to manage it, then the owners of that property can come in with a plan. I know as the two of you can come in together. But at this point, we would have markers along that area so that there's no further management of that area because it's in the buffer zone. I mean, up to the area of the buffer zone, would be one of my comments. Then, what else to have? Yeah, I mean, I guess there's a lot of betterments. I mean, I'm trying to think of the whole issue in general, which we didn't cover last time, as often we ask people to move things out of the inner 50-foot zone. And to the extent that, let's say, a patio could be slid out of the alteration, but I guess the areas around these places are just going to be irregular mowing grass around these patios and garden. Is that what that'll be existing lawn is the plan?
Yeah, well, with the exception of, you know, all,
Yeah, right. Oh,
all of
sure.
these areas are native, and, you know, those are fairly significant size planting areas of natives.
I agree.
So,
No,
you know, I mean, it's a lot more than I see at most houses. So, I mean, I'm sure the owner would be amenable to adding some naturalized plantings here, which I think, you know, whatever, we don't show it because it's off property, and, you know, and maybe even in here, but whatever this wildflower seed mix
Oh.
is, could certainly be appropriate there too.
sure. That would be a nice addition there. And that's for my comments for the moment. How about other commissioners?
I got a question. I remember that part of the driveway was being removed to be probably reclaimed for yard. Can you just remind me and show me where on the map the existing driveway is? So which portion's being removed?
See that red line?
Yeah, I got that. Okay.
That's the part that's being removed. So right now, the existing driveway comes all the way to this point, comes in like that.
All right. And then I see there's an entranceway. What's going in there? Like paving stones or something?
Yeah, paving stones and an arbor, and some kind of and this is a zone that that is fairly low point. So this would be a kind of bioswale that would accept water, any storm water off the driveway any year, dissipate it in this direction, infiltrate and overflow, dissipate.
Okay. And there was also some pebbles that were, I'm not sure what the right term is, but it looked like pebbles that were used in conjunction, exactly right there with that little footbridge. Those are being removed and replaced with, did we make a determination, or did you guys decide what to replace them with?
Well, we had the discussion, and that's something the owner did without any supervision. A lot of them had, not a lot, but a few shovelfuls had fallen in the stream right here. That could be cleaned up, and I think the small stone should be replaced with the larger stone, or replaced with, I would say, like flat paving stones that are more solid, that would not infiltrate into the stream whatsoever. So it could be a larger stone, like 3/4 inch stone, or I think even better, stepping stones that kind of dance down the slope like that.
Yeah, I think that would be better, that even the 3/4 bigger, but given the ferocity of the storms, that avoiding anything that would possibly migrate into the brook would be important.
I mean, in my experience, the stepping stones are work well in a situation.
Okay, that would be a good change. Matt, did you have other things?
Nope, that was it. Thank you.
Steve?
I just, I was out of state for this site visit, so bear that in mind. For the 6 garden beds within the 50, well, anyways, the 6 garden beds, that I think of garden beds as being actively managed, often putting fertilizer in them. So their impact, if they're garden beds, is more than their square foot total. I would, or at least question. Any comments on that?
Well, we can say that no pesticides or herbicides will be used. Maybe natural fertilizers only within the planting bed themselves. So I mean, those can be conditions.
Yeah,
If
we've
we
often
look at
we've often had no pesticides and only slow release nitrogen.
Right.
'Cause
Right,
you
and
don't
I'm
need
sure the
any
client would
kind
be
of-
fine with that.
Well, any kind of fertilizer, whether it's slow release or not, if that close to a wetland, if it gets there, that could be a problem. But I don't know the site,
Yeah.
so.
I mean,
It's relatively level in that area. There's maintained lawn within that area. There'll be plantings, new plantings all along the river. So any fertilization that would occur within the fenced-in garden area will most likely will stay within that fenced-in garden area. If it does happen to get outside of it, there's lawn to absorb it, and then there's a whole nice sheltered stream bed with our new native plantings that will also filter out any contaminants before getting to the river.
Okay, I'll defer to my colleagues in terms of what's appropriate for that site, but just an observation.
yeah, it's yeah, right. It's less direct runoff, and hopefully it's not a large area of even nitrogen fertilization that would get into the groundwater. Hopefully they would not over fertilize even with the nitrogen.
I mean, I would urge that or suggest that whatever treatment or fertilizer happens on the lawn is a larger issue, because it's
Right.
such a bigger area, and we would welcome restrictions on that.
would they take a restriction of no fertilizer? Or what would be acceptable, since right now, obviously, they can do stuff on their lawn, it's sort of grandfathered, but
Yeah, you know, I can't say for the owner, but I mean, I don't see why not. I think that from what I know about Lenny, he's very he really wants to turn this into a natural kind of productive garden and for his kids and family, and he doesn't want chemicals anywhere.
yeah, I mean, the no pesticides is a sort of an easy one, just a fertilizer issue of nitrogen in particular. Because we generally say only nitrogen, because the soils don't seem, I don't know with your experience, that they usually don't need the P and K. But yeah, there is, as I agree that, as Nicole said, there's certainly a much improved infiltration buffer zone with the plantings there. And so it's an improvement over sort of current conditions. Before I forget, I want to bring up the driveway. There's that existing driveway drain runoff that's further up from a past project that that needs to be sort of redone, and I'd like to include in this project that sort of redoing that runoff there, so there's no scour, and somehow, hopefully, that area that seemed unvegetated for some reason, or a lot of dying vegetation, I'm not quite sure. Hopefully that will come back. I'd like to, because that's sort of inner natural buffer zone. I guess I'd like to see that comes back somehow, as well as that the runoff is better treated.
Yep, we can definitely add that in. You can even make it a condition. We talked about widening that channel and making it a little bit deeper to reduce that runoff.
Okay, yeah. And hopefully might include in the condition that somehow that area gets, if needed, gets revegetated.
Yeah, yes, we can definitely put down seed right away.
Yeah, just to get that revegetated. And I guess, right, in the end, I guess I struggle with all these driveway. Since this driveway is in the buffer zone, there would be what we've been adding lately is a condition. We would like people not to use any asphalt sealants. But it's nice if somebody would accept that. We've moved towards prohibiting coal tar-based sealants, which a local company does use in the colder weather. But any driveway that feeds into wetlands or there, we've been adding that at least no coal tar sealants. And it would be nice if people didn't do sealants at all, because here you are having a direct runoff from a driveway, and whatever car fluids and other things and stuff is just going right into a direct drain there, so to speak. But we would have something about the sealants for coal tar. It would be nice if we didn't do the any sealants. And they could certainly do repair of cracks, but a little questionable. But that would be a condition we would have about the coal tar ones, at least.
I'm certainly happy to ask Lenny how he feels about both of those issues: nitrogen on the lawn and no asphalt sealants, and report back.
Yeah, and just it's a distinction between coal tar based and petroleum based. Steve?
Well, I just wanted to add that another project, they compared the cost of coal tar and an alternative, and it didn't seem that that was significantly different. And is that correct, Michael?
Oh yeah, there's no reason to do it. It's other than you just have to wait to a warmer time period. So you don't even have to. It's a matter of if they run into a backlog, they could say to somebody, okay, I could do it earlier, but I'll use a different product. In this case, I'd say, since it's in our jurisdiction and it drains into our jurisdiction, that we would just say that you don't have that option. And because it's, I don't know, 100 times worse is the coal tar than the petroleum base, but that's not good either. Do other people have comments? Courtney or Kurt or whatever, Jacob? Or,
I think everybody already commented on everything, so I don't have anything to add.
Yeah, I don't have anything beyond the items I already mentioned.
okay. But I guess we're sitting,
Should, Wes, I mean, maybe we could even, do you think, I don't think the coal tar, having no coal tar will be a deal breaker for the client. The only one I'm nervous about is the nitrate on the lawn, because everything else we can make as a condition, and maybe we could close tonight if we all were in agreement. Wes, do you think that we should continue the hearing just about the no nitrates on the lawn, or do you think that
I
that
think,
would be acceptable?
I mean, it's hard for me to speak for the client on that one, but my gut is that he's a lot more eager about the overall approval and, you know, the betterment of his yard than he would be about fertilizing his lawn and having it, you know, some shade of green different. So,
Yeah.
and everything I know about him is, you know, he's in it for the right reasons, or the reasons that align with all of our values, which is why we're here this evening. So,
Right.
I think that I would, I think that he would, you know, in interest of moving it forward, I think he would agree to no fertilizer on the lawn.
okay. Joyce, what did you want to say?
No, he just answered the question. I was just gonna say that, don't we standardly put a condition that says there's no fertilizers on the 100-foot buffer zone?
It's usually the no alteration zone, sometimes been an
No,
existing.
it's the, well, I think it's the whole no buffer zone, not the no alteration zone.
Okay, fine. Then we're basically all on the same page there. And the issue about the driveway sealants.
Yeah, I don't think he'll have a
yeah.
problem with
No.
The
the
coal
no.
tar I'm not worried about.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a little, we've never pushed anybody to just say no sealants at all yet. So I think that I don't know if we're ready to go that far to say to people no, no sealant, even though that's my view, but at least no coal tar is at least a step that we've made. And hopefully he would be sensitive to for his own family's health and the health of the soil there, that he wouldn't use sealants at all. But I don't think we have to require that unless anybody else feels more stringent at this point.
Did we ask for comments from the public?
We shall now, while we're talking about that. I see any comments from the public. If so, speak up. Okay. Judith, I'm not sure what project you're here for, or okay. What does everybody think? Have we covered all the conditions that we would want, that we could close the hearing? I mean, we could obviously, we can do more conditions after you close the hearing, but I'd like to get them all done beforehand. It's a little easier to discuss, but we can discuss it if something comes up later.
If you want me to run through them again, I wrote them down, but that's up to you.
Sure.
All right, so we mentioned for conditions, no fertilization in the lawn. And that's also according to your bylaw, no fertilization in the 100-foot buffer zone. No coal tar sealant on the driveway. Markers along the property line on the other side of the river, near the fruit trees.
Oh yeah, we need the signs there as well as in the back of the yard.
Yeah.
I guess
Okay.
what do we have? How many do we, what do we want to put, like 3 or 4? I mean,
At what frequency, like 20 feet or so?
you could probably 20 feet. Yeah, 25 or 30. Let's see, what's that?
So that's 30. So 30 is something like this. That's about 30.
Yeah,
you do something like
Yeah,
that.
right. And we have ones that you could use and you could put them on a tree, or you could put them on a rock or on a concrete pillar, which is, or something like that. You might want to go a little bit more. Let's see, what are they doing there? Yes, you're not doing much activity on the left-hand side of the top.
Over here.
Yeah,
we
I
could
can
do it.
tell.
And there's already markers up there somewhere.
Yeah,
Oh,
there
yeah.
are markers right off
Oh,
the
you're right, they're for the other
Yeah.
project,
over
right?
Yeah.
here. Yeah.
Okay. Done. Okay, so we got the markers.
Okay, the
Uh,
next one is the stones for the bridge. We want to use larger stepping stones instead of the small rocks.
Right,
And widen and deepen the old drainage channel along the driveway.
and some possible revegetation if needed.
Yes, yeah, seeding.
Yeah. in this whole area.
And the maintenance plan for on the other side with the of the sort of annual mowing.
Mhm.
On the areas that are being sort of restored as good buffer zone.
Yep.
And if you want to do some vegetation along the back of the yard there, I don't know if you want to include that here, but if you want to add in something along the property line to the right, I'll call it. That's something that would certainly be welcomed as part of even where you're putting monuments, who knows? You could plant a tree and put a marker on it.
Sure.
That sort of matches our list. Other people have other ideas? Joyce or any, Courtney? The erosion control is that on here? And what do we have for erosion control?
Yeah,
That's
it's,
the,
we have a detail. Let me find it. Where'd it go? Sorry. I think it's here. There it is, right there. I'll zoom in. There it is. So it's a straw wattle with the oak stake and a silt fence on oak stakes.
okay, and where is that being?
Okay, it's
Figure out
going,
where it is.
it goes from here,
Yeah,
which is off the driveway, and the driveway comes up here with the Cape Cod berm, so nothing will really run off the driveway here.
yeah,
And it comes up and over, and then returns along the property line up to about here, which is, significantly upslope and past that wetland. This is not,
That's upland area.
yeah, it's up gradient, so there's really no, this will actually keep water from coming onto the site.
yeah, I'm just looking at that end there since it's gonna be all the work. I guess most of the grading is closer to the house.
Oh, actually, I take it back. It comes up to here. It comes
Okay.
up to the point where the work is taking place.
Okay, fine. Yeah, to the end of the no disturbed. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that seems adequate. Joyce, do you have any comments on that or?
Yeah, and up to the 100 here.
No, the drainage swale that you're widening, you're gonna add trap rock to that to slow the velocity of the water?
Yes. Yeah, we indicated here on the plan that it's 1.5-inch wash stone to disperse the storm water and about 2 yards quantity, which will probably triple the size of what's there, I would say.
Okay. Anybody else have any other issues or comments on the conditions before I close the hearing? Okay. I move that we close the hearing on 18 Peckham Hill Road.
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Michael, I. Jacob?
Aye.
Kurt?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Courtney?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Okay. So are we, I guess, Joyce, you'll be ready to write a order of conditions and they'll give us some slightly revised plans. So do you have the schedule for that if we do that? So I guess we're not, I guess we can just vote on the project at this point. Is there any issues with that? Courtney or whatever?
No, no issues.
Okay. So hopefully you get us the plans in the week so that because once we approve this, we have to get the order of conditions out and we need the plans to reference.
Yep.
Okay, I move that we find that this project can be approved and will not adversely impact the wetland resources. And in fact, will be a benefit to the wetland impact resources. If all of the conditions followed that we have discussed and the plans as viewed are followed with the additions that we discussed at this hearing. How's that? Good enough?
Second.
Okay. Sometimes we have more formal, longer ones. Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Michael, I. Jacob.
Aye.
Kurt.
Aye.
Matt.
Aye.
Courtney.
Aye.
Steve.
Abstain.
Okay, oh, that's true. You actually can't vote. Given that you probably didn't listen to the last one. Okay. Hopefully you get all the changes right in terms of what we talked about, but we know where to find you.
Okay.
And we'll get that all straightened out and looks like it should be a little fun project here.
Yeah, most for sure. Thank you very
Yes,
much.
and yes. Great. Okay, see you guys around. And that's the end of that. So we have on our agenda.
Okay, thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Sure. See you guys. What we have left are the minutes. There are 3 sets of minutes that are from last year that Jacob, Courtney, and I have gone over. And the question is whether we need to review them or whether people would, or if anybody has reviewed them, or whether we accept them as is.
I give you my vote by proxy.
I would prefer that we not read through them again during the meeting.
Okay. Does anybody want to read through them or can I move to approve them now? What do you think, Steve or Kurt?
You can move to approve them.
I agree.
So moved.
I got to make a real motion now. Okay. Let's get back to here and see what they are. Okay. I move that we approve the draft minutes for the Conservation Commission meetings of September 7th, 2023, September 21st, 2023, and October 19th, 2023.
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Roll call vote. Michael, I. Jacob.
Aye.
Matt.
Aye.
Kurt.
Aye.
Courtney.
Aye.
Steve.
Aye.
Okay. It's only a couple left, 1 or 2 left for that year, and then we've got some of 24. We might ask for some help from some of you guys where each one of you has to do a set of minutes, where you get the recording and you can could follow the blueprints we have and you could talk to Courtney about how she does it. But we all have to thank Courtney for this amazing amount of work. So she's my heroine for the moment, for getting this stuff done. Okay. Let's see, do we have anything else? Joyce, do we need anything more? I think we've done everything.
I think we've done everything.
Okay, let's move to adjourn. Does anybody else have anything before I move to adjourn? Okay, I move to adjourn at 10:01.
Second. I'm not doing the minutes for this one.
Okay, we're gonna assign it. Sorry. Okay, that was our lovely discussion. And now we have a roll call vote. Michael, I, Jacob. Matt,
Aye.
Kurt,
Aye.
Courtney,
Aye.
Steve.
Aye.
Okay, meeting is adjourned.